everyone, welcome to another episode of Coral Living, and tonight we are talking about following your dreams. So I thought, why not have a guest come on who I think has done a good job of embodying some of this attribute of following your dreams. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Christopher Cordell. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
So, tell me about the artwork that's behind you there. I'm intrigued by it.
Those are just personal works that I've done over the years. Actually, the one on this side, that one is done by Justin. The bottom one I made for Jesse, which was kind of like a stencil one. The one over there, that was like my pride and joy. I worked on that bad boy. I did a whole show on finding your artistic side, or finding your creative side, and I talked about some of these paintings in that episode. But
Captain America Brain Blitz.
It's what? Captain America?
Captain America Brain Blitz.
Yeah. He's exploding. It's the infinite consciousness of the universe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, for my guests who are watching the show, anyone who's watching this, Christopher, he has been involved with the film industry now for a few decades. It sounds like an exciting career. I'm sure he'll fill us in a little bit on how that's kind of gone over the years. But maybe you could tell us specifically a little bit more about what you do in the film industry.
Oh, geez. Okay. I do a lot of things in the film industry. I primarily make most of my money as a stunt coordinator and a stunt performer. I also work as an actor. I was just recently on the TV show Chucky, episode 3, playing the intruder. If you're a fan of the show, go watch. It's quite a reveal. So I do acting, I do stunt coordinating, and I do stunt performing. Those are the main 3 money makers. And then I also produce and I also direct. Those are the main. And occasionally I will write. Actually, I've written a few scripts that have been made as well. So that's the vast majority of what I do in the film industry.
So for someone who's let's maybe go back a little into the past here. When did you first realize this was a path that you wanted to get into?
Well, it depends on which path you're talking about. So I knew as a kid that I would like to be an actor. So in grade 6, I think it was, in public school, our school put on a play at Halloween, I think, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And we had a really smart teacher, Mrs. McConaughey, I think was her name. I mean, it's a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And what she did was she had kids rotate the roles that they were doing on different nights. So the parents could come and see their kids be, one night somebody would be Ichabod Crane, the star. One night somebody would be the headless horseman. Some night that same person might later be the horse, right?
Yeah.
Right? And also all the text. So people making the noises of the horses and doing all the stuff in the background, helping with wardrobe and makeup and all that kind of stuff. Everybody rotated through. And there was an evening where it was my job to be the back tech, but the actor that was supposed to play one of the other characters didn't show up for whatever reason. They were sick, or there was a family emergency, or something happened. Wow. And I said, well, I know all the parts. So I had learned all the parts and jumped in and managed to play the role. And I had a great time. And for a child, it was positive attention. And I think that really drew me then. I didn't realize it was the arts that I liked. I realized it was the attention I liked. And I got into, then really bothered my parents to try to enroll me in things where I could be an actor. They enrolled me in the Children's Theater Company, where we then did The Wizard of Oz.
Huh.
And I loved it. But then at that point, for me, acting in theater was cost money. I wasn't making any money doing it. Anything that was near me, where we were, you had to volunteer for community theater, and I'm the oldest of 6 kids.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot of extra money or extra time to take me to auditions or take me to community theater or anything of that sort. You know, being 13 years old, I didn't have a driver's license, and we lived out in the country far enough, you couldn't ride a bicycle, things didn't happen, things. So that kind of just sort of went away of, it's not feasible, I can't do it. I couldn't do auditions for television and movies downtown Toronto, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Then in high school, around the same time as doing that, I saw a documentary on stunt people. And I thought, that's amazing. That's really awesome. I'd love to do that. And when I was in high school, I found an article in the back of the Toronto Sun, which is a newspaper in downtown Toronto, advertising a stunt school. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to this stunt school, and then I'm going to learn how to be a stuntman. This is a job you can do. And I called them up, and this is a long time ago. They wanted a huge amount of money to go to the school.
Yeah.
Right? And like, we were really poor when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money. There was no way I was going to be able to come up with it's like $5,000 or $6,000 or something crazy, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
To go to this school. I mean, it's a lot of money now, really. But so, and when I talked to them on the phone about it, they said, "Oh no, we don't guarantee you any work. We just teach you skills."
Oh,
right? Just like any other school. So I kind of let that go aside.
Yeah.
And then once I got my driver's license and started to follow into film, then I started spearheading my path. And then I could drive myself around. I started doing community theater. I started doing volunteer stuff. I did a bunch of shows in my high school. And then started doing background work on film sets to try to learn what was going on. And went from there and just kept on building my career. So when you ask when did I first know for acting, it was when I was 12. And when for stunt work, I knew when I was 17.
Man, talk about knowing when you know, like right off really young, really young. Now, was there kind of like a defining moment in your life where there might have been, because it's kind of an unconventional career path, right? A lot of people, when they get out of high school, either they, go start an apprenticeship somewhere, they go to college, they go to university, they just go get a job, or even do traveling or something like that. Like, was there any hesitancy towards because you said the costs and the stuff like that, where you're like, can I do this? Or like, was there a moment where you had to make a defining moment? Like, okay, I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it.
Yes. So, I mean, like anything that you don't know stuff about, there's a lot of uncertainty. So, I had an experience that was really wonderful, where I got to go to a movie set and meet somebody famous. And the famous person took me into their trailer and said, "Hey kid, I understand you want to be an actor." And,
it's a classic.
Yeah, and this is when I was 17.
Yeah.
I was 17. You want to be an actor? And I looked at him and said, "No, I am an actor." And he started laughing.
Oh.
And he said, if you want to be an actor, all you got to do is stick with it for 10 to 15 years, and everybody will know who you are, and then you're just an actor. And that was Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney was a star 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
He's passed away since, but did all kinds of great movies and big things. So I took what he said as gospel. So I'm like, okay, I just got to stick with this for 10 years. And that's all the advice I had for this industry. I didn't know anybody else. I didn't know anything else. I just had that one opportunity to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I had no idea about how to do it. So I always had a job to pay my bills, and then I was chasing my career in Toronto. So doing background work here and there, trying to do auditions, and that was back in the day where you actually had to go in and physically do an audition. I was doing shows in Toronto, like plays in Toronto, but I was living always outside of Toronto because I'd grown up with the idea that Toronto was this big, bad, scary place. My stepdad, Doug, was for a long time not a fan of Toronto. Neither was my mother, and that was the belief I grew up with. So I was living in small towns outside of Toronto, commuting back and forth. So the deciding moment for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get myself an apartment in Toronto. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to pay extra money. I'm going to quit the job that I have now, try to get a job in Toronto, and try to get money doing background work and learning what to do on sets, and trying to figure out what a good agent is, how to get an agency, what to do, and just do this all day, every day. I'm going to make sure I do at least one thing every day that builds towards my career.
Yeah.
And then when stunt work started to go, the defining moment was, okay, I'm quitting my job. I'm quitting my secondary job. I'm just going to make money in film and television.
Wow.
And once I made that decision, I had no choice.
Yeah.
I had to figure out ways to make money in film and television. So that having the fallback of, oh, I have this job where I'm, working at the time I was working as a fitness machine fixer. I fixed all the fitness equipment. Went around to different places in Toronto and fixed all their equipment.
Yeah.
And once I said, okay, I'm not going to do that job anymore, I'm just going to work in film and television. That was the decidement. And since then, I work in film and television.
So obstacles are definitely something, that you've had to, overcome, along this journey while, you were like starting down this path, getting into it.
Not just starting down, still. I mean,
still. Well, I was just about to ask you, maybe you could list off. You've already named a few already. If there are any more that you can think of out there, the types of obstacles that you had to go through, and the evolution of those obstacles as you've gotten older. What maybe comes to mind, first for you? What are the big ones?
Well, depending on what avenue you're looking at, if you're trying to work as an actor, you have to have an agent.
Yeah.
And not all agents are created equal. So it's learning. And I find in life, there's lots of things I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? There's things out there you just don't know. You don't know they exist.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. Don't know that it exists. So don't know that it's there. So and some of those things are like, how do you get a good agent? What's the difference between a good agent and a bad agent? Why aren't all agents the same? Right? So some of the obstacles are, I'd be like, oh, I don't have an agent. I have to get an agent. I go to Toronto, I look things up in the yellow pages, I find an agency, call them up and say, yeah, we'll represent you. I'm like, oh, I got an agent. I did it. But did I get a good agent? No. Is that somebody I want to have representing me? No. Would I be better off without them? Yes. Am I being scammed? Absolutely. But you don't know that. So those are obstacles you have to overcome and learn and achieve. Now, some of those obstacles are easier to overcome if you have a mentor. If there's somebody who's telling you, hey, here's what you got to do. Here's how to fix these things.
Yeah. You just, without even knowing it, you've already jumped into my next question because you can't, I don't think you can even talk about following your dreams without the mentioning of mentors or mentorship.
Right.
And I thought maybe, you've even mentioned a few already, even that first one, that guy who just gave you that little tidbit of advice in the beginning. Who along this, this journey really sticks out in your mind as, a good mentor for you as you were doing this? Like, I'm sure you have a bunch, but maybe you could name a few. Or if you don't want to name, just, I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Well, for me, in the acting world, there's actually been fewer mentors than in the stunt world. Okay. The acting, I think I've mostly stumbled through and divined things through trial and error.
Yeah. Is that due to competition or something like that? Or people wanting, to not give away their gems?
I think it more comes down to you don't actually spend a lot of time with other actors.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to acting classes, most of the people in your class are at the same level as you. They're not at a higher level, so they're not good for mentoring. And believe it or not, most people that are teaching classes are teaching because they're not doing, and they're not really good for mentoring. I've had lots of really bad advice from teachers.
Yeah.
It's then learning which are the good teachers and then gleaning the information from them that you can.
Yeah.
And in life, advice is just that. It's just advice. So some people can give you good advice, some people can give you bad advice. And acting is such a subjective thing that it's different for everybody. So when it comes to acting, I've had people give me advice, but I've had it be really bad advice.
Yeah.
When it comes to stunt work, it's a lot more political and there's a lot more ego, but you spend a lot more time with stunt people. So I've had Marco Bianco has done a lot of things that helped me and taught me how to be a good stunt person and how to act on set. John Stead is somebody who's done that for me as well. He works with Stratford. I'm part of Fight Directors of Canada, and it's a stunt coordinator and a director in Toronto.
Yeah.
That does really safe work. Bronco Racchi has been a great mentor for me, taught me a lot. In fact, I think Bronco out of those three is probably my top, simply because of the way he works and the chances he'll take with me and the information he'll give me. He's been somebody who's really trusted me with roles and responsibility. And I learned a lot from that. And then you learn a lot just from being on set.
Yeah.
So that's getting that opportunity. So, I mean, when it comes to acting, there's different teachers that are going to teach you different ways to act, and that might not be the right way for you. There's dozens of ways to act. There's different classes, there's different teachers, there's different methods, right?
Yeah.
So you find out what's good for you. And
could you give me one solid example where maybe a mentor intervened in your life and gave you a gem or some guidance or pointed you down? Can you give me one example that really it was it might have really helped you in your career, or did really help you in your career? Can you think of an example or one piece of advice or something that just really helped you?
There's probably loads. And if you ask the mentors, they probably know. They say, "Oh, I told you this."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you told me this. The thing I find with advice for people that help you in life, you quite often attribute that to yourself. You quite often go, "Oh, I did this. I worked really hard and I got this thing." When in truth, yeah, you worked really hard and you were struggling, but there was somebody else that really helped you with it. And sometimes you can't put your finger on those moments and know how that person helped you.
You might have to think back. You can come back to that one if you want. Maybe just something will ring and be like, "Oh yeah, there was that one moment there." But here's another question for you. Would you say that you've had a strong intention in surrounding yourself with specific types of people, and maybe purposely avoiding certain types of people to maximize the success potential in achieving your dreams?
Yes. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, you do surround yourself with actors and the types of people that you want to be working with, and work on the types of projects that you want to work on. Yeah. Absolutely. There's types of energies that people have that maybe you don't want to be around. And I find the more mature I get, the more I recognize that. And I'm at peace with letting that go. I think when you first start at anything, you really want that thing really bad. I really want to be an actor. I really want to be a stunt guy. And so you're willing to compromise, or you think compromising who you are and what your values are will help get you where you got to go. Because you're so desperate for it. And inevitably, I mean, that's advice that I've seen from other people. When you talk about mentorship, is stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you need to realize who you are. And often when you're young and just starting, you don't know that either. So
yeah,
I did a lot of exploring when I was younger, right? Going to meeting different people, hanging out with different people, different types of lifestyles, just to see who am I, what am I comfortable with, what do I know? I came from a small town where I didn't have friends that were people of color. I didn't have friends that were gay or lesbian or bisexual or anything like that. So I was like, okay, what is this? Learning about that types of people and really creative people. I came from a small town where there wasn't a lot of artists and actors, and so you got to go find them. And when I came to Toronto, there was tons, and I was meeting people and just not having enough time to meet them all, right?
Well, there's something to be said there about being able to meet like a lot of people, like the diversity there. That seems to be a good thing. Maybe something we could all learn off of that is like through a huge pool, there's so much more you can learn the larger the pool is, maybe to maybe pull off of. I don't know.
Yeah, the more sources you have, I think the better your information, right? Because I mean, some people have bad information, but they're getting good information from 7 out of 10 places.
Yeah,
and you can compare. I mean, I remember sometimes you end up with the notion, or I ended up. I can't say for everybody else. I ended up with notions that just weren't true.
Yeah.
Right. I had ideas of what a famous actor was and what types of people that were close to fame were like. And then I came to Toronto, and I think I just turned 19. I wasn't living in Toronto, but I was taking an acting class in Toronto. And in my class was a young actress named Kelly Herron. And Kelly is the daughter of Don Herron. Don Herron, famous Canadian off of Hee Haw. And I was instantly smitten by Kelly. Kelly was gorgeous and talented and super nice. And she was very friendly to me. And she would take me around to like after hours clubs and stuff in Toronto and show me downtown Toronto. She was a downtown Toronto girl. I was a small town boy.
Yeah.
And just that spending time with her showed me what real people were like. That there isn't a difference between me and her family. That they were real people doing a real job, and this is how it is. It's a job. So it took the podium off of it. You know, the idea of, oh, that's something you can't attain, you can't touch.
Yeah.
It's so far away from me. It made it visceral. Oh, yeah, hey, you're a person that I like and can hang out with and talk to, and you're somebody who's in the world of fame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this isn't some sort of unattainable goal. This is very real, and it's a job.
Opening up possibility, and seems like kind of stemming into what you were saying about before, about learning things that, you didn't know before. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and then, through meeting a certain amount of people. But I guess definitely something here that would come up would be the topic of discernment. Because not everything you're getting is going to be beneficial or totally for you. So,
well, and sometimes the things that you think you know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I knew that actors that had acquired some sort of fame were this greater demigod type of thing. Like, oh, that's fact, right? And I'm this. And I knew that. That's a fact in my head. Yeah. Until I start having, a friendship with Kelly, and then I realized, oh, no, that's not how this works. That's not, and for me, that helped me a lot just in my acting, because now I'm not nervous at all. I'm on set with somebody who's extremely famous. It doesn't factor into me being all like, oh my God, it's a famous person.
Yeah, building up your confidence, like big time.
It doesn't enter my head anymore.
Yeah.
Because of my relationship with Kelly. I don't even think Kelly knows it's had that effect on me. Unless she watches this. But yeah.
So, making a little bit of a shift here, what would you say to someone who's too afraid to take a certain amount of risk and to pursue something meaningful in their life. Because I guess there's a certain amount of risk in anything you decide to do, but a lot of people, I think, get caught up on risk factor and they're afraid. And it sounded like in those early days, quitting that job, I'm sure, for the first time to take that chance to be like, okay, now all my bills come from this. That would have been scary.
It was scary, and there was times where I had to be creative. I was living off credit cards at one point because the money wasn't coming in from film, and I was desperately being creative. My advice to anybody who's afraid to take the step is fear is natural. Yeah. Fear is your body telling you, hey, we're doing something we're uncomfortable with. Yeah. And in life, somehow through our schooling, I believe, we've been trained that failure is wrong. If you take a test and you don't pass it, oh, that's bad, you failed. Yeah. Well, no, I learned that those questions are wrong. Those answers are wrong to those questions. Yeah. And I've also learned I didn't know enough to pass this test. Okay, I believe in school they should then say, go take the test again. Now that you've taken this test, study again and come back. Yeah. Take the test again. And let's see what you've learned from this experience. Yeah. Not this failure, just from this experience. And if you start looking at life through a lens of experiences, oh, I'm going to go try this experience. It's no longer failures. Yeah. You're not like, oh, I didn't succeed. No, I just went to go have an experience. My experience was to go and be in this play. Oh, but it didn't get great reviews, and we weren't sold out every night, and it closed down in a week. I'm like, yes, but now you've experienced that. You understand that can happen, and was it so bad? No, you lived through it. You learned from it, right? Yeah. No. Go on. And what can you do next time? And what can you change? Or would you like to do that again? Maybe you don't mind doing a show for 3 days and having it closed, right? So a failure is very subjective, and the idea of failure. I mean, you hear famous people say things like "fail forward," keep on trying, keep on failing, because no success happens the first time. And there are people that we both know that will get excited about something, try it once, and they're not immediately awesome at it, and they go, oh, screw this, I'm not immediately awesome at this. And then they give up and they're depressed, and they're upset, they're not immediately awesome at it. And what a lot of pressure you're putting on yourself. Yeah. Some people, maybe you have an idea in your head that somebody who's really good at something was really good at it the very first time they tried it. Not true. Wayne Gretzky practiced for years and years and years and years and hours and hours and hours. Yeah. Chuck Norris, same thing. Jackie Chan, same thing. You're like, anybody who's really good at something has spent thousands of hours getting really, really, really good at it. Well, don't
they say it's got the 10,000 hour rule, right? To master anything, right? So.
Well, to be an expert, you haven't even mastered it.
Just be an expert.
You're just good enough to say that you're an expert. I mean, there's lots of experts in the world.
100,000 hours to be the Yoda of something.
Right? And if that seems like a daunting task to you, you just have to do the first task. You just have to do the first thing.
Laying one brick at a time, I guess.
Yeah. Figure out what the first thing is you have to do. And I know from my own experience, I used to get really anxious about a big thing I had to do. I'd be like, oh my God, it's so big. I got to do all this. I don't have enough time. I don't know what to do. And I wouldn't do anything because I'd also want it to be perfect. Yeah. Right? I learned that a bit from my parents, where if I wanted something to be perfect, I'll put it off till later. Instead, just go, okay, I need to get this done. What's the first step of getting this done? Yeah. Okay, the first step is I got to get the tools. Okay, I'll go get the tools if that's the first step. Yeah. Second step is I got to sweep the floor to make room for the tool. Okay, sweep the floor. And now you're getting the project done, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, I did it. Because you just did one step at a time. And each step is actually quite simple. And if it's not simple, make it a simpler step.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yet, sometimes I like the method of baby steps. you know, sometimes just being able to get off the couch and just do something, anything outside of the regular routine, you know, can spark that creative juice in you. Just to do anything outside of what you always do.
Yep.
Do anything, I find.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. If you want to create things that are different, you got to do things different than what you're doing. Yeah. Right? You can't expect to get something while you're doing the same thing you always did. Yeah. And you hear people say that all the time. Like Tony Robbins says it. Certain
yeah. Every personal self-help book ever.
Right. But it's 100% true.
Yeah.
You know, if every night you have fried eggs for dinner, and you're like, hey, I don't want to have fried eggs for dinner. I'd like to have macaroni and cheese. You can't get macaroni and cheese by putting the skillet out and putting cracked eggs in. You're going to get fried eggs again, right? You've got to change what you're doing. You've got to get a different bowl. You got to get different ingredients, and you got to put them on the oven. You can use the same oven. You can use some things that are the same oven, but maybe you're going to use a different heat. Maybe you're going to use a different pan. Maybe you're going to use a different spatula, different spices. And you're still going to have a meal, but it's going to be a different meal, slightly different, because you're doing things that are different. Yeah. And that's life. I think that's how you make changes and get ahead.
Yes. Okay. So we just hit a level here. We're going to go to another step deeper here.
Oh no!
Based upon what we just. So here's a quote from Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson.
I am familiar with Jordan Peterson.
I watched a couple of his videos on following your dreams this week, and he had one quote that really stuck with me, and I thought, you know, let's get Christopher's take on this quote. And he says, "It is a luxury to pursue what makes you happy. It's a moral obligation to pursue what you find meaningful."
Okay.
Just let it resonate. Let it resonate. It's deep because is it a moral obligation? Because what I get from that is a sense of that by not pursuing what's meaningful in reality, not only are you not cultivating a richer life for yourself, but you're actually having or being a disservice to those around you.
Right. So, I think, or I believe, I'll let this percolate, because we just plucked it out of context, right?
Yeah.
This thing that he said, and I believe he's a very smart man.
Yeah.
And we just plucked it out and gone, okay, let's dissect this.
Yeah.
But for me, if I'm going to incorporate those words into my life, I know that there's a big difference between me doing something just for joy and me doing something because I understand that it has a deeper meaning. I mean, if you look at acting, if I'm playing a character, I can learn the words that are written on the page. And I can try to do it the way that the writer seems to have written it right on the page. And that is, you know, Tom comes into the room angry. He looks at Susie and says, "We're out of milk. I'm going to go to the store and get some." And I can do that. "We're out of milk. I'm going to go to the store and get some." Because that's what's written on the page, right? But if I look for the deeper meaning that's inside that acting, I might be realizing that I'm angry with Susie. Why? Because I feel that she's supposed to have gotten the milk, and I'm going to go to the store and get it. And I'm feeling like she's neglecting me and not doing her wifely duties, or whatever.
Yeah, you're not doing it robotically. You're actually engaging with the under sentiment there that you know.
And I just want to clarify to anybody who's listening, I don't think that wives have wifely duties. As a character choice.
I don't think they took that from us.
Okay. The hate mail coming in.
It won't be for you, it'll be for me.
Right. But as I mean, I will make character choices, and if I'm that type of character that I would decide that I believe those types of things, then I would. Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And now for me, I'm finding deeper meaning in the work.
Yeah.
And then what story now am I trying to tell people? What is the deeper meaning, and how can that affect people?
Yeah.
To me, that makes the work better. I can go on stage and do improv and go wacka 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 and make a pee-pee and a poo-poo joke, which will make everybody laugh and can be fun, but is there deeper meaning there? And if I can realize that, oh yeah, when I make a pee-pee and a poo-poo joke, there is a deeper meaning. I'm helping people relieve their stresses and be happy for 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think that will fulfill me more than just a few minutes of, oh, the audience laughed with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How you're engaging with what you're actually doing, it being more conscious or aware, it sounds like, of the thing that you're doing. It's more intentional.
Well, I think it gives you more fulfillment as well if you realize the deeper meaning behind it, right? It's the difference between, pardon me, running out and doing things and partying to have fun, right? You go to a party and do a bunch of coke and drink a bunch of drinks and get drunk and act crazy and wild and have fun that night. But are you filled with meaning the next morning when you wake up? Are you fulfilled? Maybe not, right? That might not be fulfilling you, those things. Yeah. But if you spent that same night maybe out with those same friends and having a good time, but having deep conversations or just regular conversations, and realizing you're helping a friend who might be going through a depression time or having trouble with work, or just listening to them, that may give you more fulfillment and more meaning, even though you've spent the same evening with the same people. Yeah. You're still pursuing the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
You've just done it in a more meaningful way, that at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, I've made a difference for somebody, or I'm helping somebody, which comes to me, to my point, I usually tell people that I feel that are struggling with depression or getting motivated is figure out what your core beliefs are, what your morals are, what your way of life is, and then stick true to that.
Yeah.
And that, I think, will give you fulfillment. So, but like we were saying earlier, if you're just getting into a business or just getting into something and you're trying desperately to get ahead, we often put that aside. And we lose that, and we never get it back. It takes a while to go back and go, wait a second. I used to be a person I liked more. Why am I now lying to my boss and pretending that what he does is okay when he's really not doing a nice thing to Susie at the front desk that I wouldn't normally put up with, but because he writes my paycheck, I do. You start to realize, okay, I need to be true to myself and have a good moral compass, believe in what I think is right and wrong, and stay true to that. And that's
all right.
Gives you your moral obligation.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some tools to maybe help be more true to oneself. What would you say are some of more of the highly effective habits someone should be cultivating in the fulfillment of their, in the pursuit of their dreams? What do you say about habits?
I can tell you what has worked for me.
Yeah.
You can't.
That's sure. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I'd be.
What works for one may not work for everyone.
Right. I'd be reserved to say that this is what everybody should do. But for myself, I set out a rule that every single day I was going to make sure I did at least one thing that moved my career ahead. And then I made it very relaxed about what that one thing was, so as not to put too much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
So whether it meant I read a script or I researched TV shows by watching a TV show, right? But I'm justifying what I'm doing, going, hey, I'm watching a TV show, and I can decide how those actors are acting, how it's shot, how it's being done, and dissecting it. So that's research for me.
Yeah.
And then that in itself gives me a sense of fulfillment. At the end of each day, I've done something to further my career, and I feel good about who I am and what I'm doing. Yeah. Even though I may not be seeing immediate successes, even though I may not have book the part I just auditioned for.
Drops in a bucket.
Yeah, drops in a bucket, but because they're goals that are attainable.
Yeah.
But I'm holding myself accountable at the same time.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would suggest to people is figure out goals that are attainable and hold yourself accountable. So for me, it was every day, and every day, it was every day, not 5 days a week. For me, it was every day, I'm going to do at least one thing that moves my career forward. And then often I did much more than one thing.
Yeah.
But if I had a busy day, or for example, a family function I had to go to, or a wedding or something, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this thing quickly. And sometimes it was just doing research, going onto the Internet Movie Database, looking up a director, what they were shooting next. Okay, I did that, I learned something today, that's the one thing I did that moved my career forward.
Yeah.
That's the recommendation I would make to anybody. No matter what it is you're trying to do, figure out the path, or the different paths, because there's often more than one path. Figure out where you want to go, and figure out a plan and how to get there. And I guarantee you that plan will change.
Yeah.
I shouldn't guarantee. For me, the plan changed.
Yeah.
Right? I made a plan and the plan changed, and that's okay. As you're going along, new things are going to come up. You're going to find out things that you didn't know that you didn't know, and you're going to learn things that you thought you knew that you don't know.
Yeah.
Wrong. And so that changes your plan. But at least you had a plan, you started with it, and now you're letting that education lead you along and keep moving.
So maybe you're saying allow yourself to be flexible enough. Don't be too stringent on maybe the path. Maybe allow space for new things to cultivate, new things to grow out of. Maybe I don't know.
It's a hard one because sometimes you got to be like, no, I'm sticking to my path. I'm not going to be distracted by these other things.
Yeah.
And so I say to that, I try to keep my positive energy moving forward. In the stunt world and in the acting world, it's really easy to get bogged down by politics and the behaviors of other people and the things that people will do to try to hurt your career or further their career. And it's very easy to let that diverge you from your path. Where I will have a mantra, I'll say out loud to myself as I'm getting pissed off about something. No, keep your positive energy moving forward. That'll take care of itself. And I'm going to make sure that I keep moving forward, so I keep on making sure that things I'm doing are moving me ahead in my career, and I'm not getting distracted by other things that are side paths. So I have to constantly do a check to make sure, because I have been distracted. I have gone the other way and been like, oh, wait a second, what am I doing right now? I'm spending all this time trying to get revenge on this person that was talking crap about me, just as an example, instead of, and trying to right a wrong. They said something and stopped me from getting that job, and I want to prove to everybody that they were wrong. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to keep going on my path, and my work will eventually show that they were incorrect, or that maybe they were correct at that time, but they're not correct anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If somebody's saying, when you first start out at anything, somebody says, oh, that guy's inexperienced, and he shouldn't get the job, and you're mad at them for saying you're inexperienced, you shouldn't get the job. You're probably inexperienced, but you shouldn't get the job. But getting mad at them and trying to show that they're wrong and try to say, hey, that person's a jerk, doesn't help you. What helps you is getting the experience, so that next time a job like that comes up, people are like, you're like, oh, I have all this experience. I've done all these things. Yeah. Look at my resume. Look at this. See?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Is that your mantra? Keep the positive energy. Is that your mantra?
My mantra is keep my positive energy moving forward.
Keep my positive energy moving forward. I like that.
So I try to remind myself, because I'm going way off here. I am not.
It's okay. It's okay. We're good here.
I'm a big believer that there aren't any bad emotions.
Okay.
I believe that. It's my own personal belief.
Yeah.
No bad emotions. I myself feel that emotions are here to inform us. Our body informs us. If you're sad, it's because this thing has happened that has created loss. If you're angry, it's because this thing has happened. And it informs us of things that are good or bad or where we are in our lives. And I will embrace them. I don't think there's a bad emotion. You don't say, oh, I'm having a bunch of bad emotions today. You say, oh, I'm sad today. or I'm depressed this week or this month.
Yeah.
Now, on that same note, I don't let the depression control me. Yeah. I know I'm depressed, but I won't take it out on you. We're having a conversation. I'm not there going, oh yeah, James, I'm feeling really bad right now. Like, I just can't shake this.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, hey, how are you? Good to see you. What's going on? How you, right? And engage with you, because you deserve, as a human being, a certain amount of attention and energy from me. So I'm going to have a conversation with you, and you're somebody that I respect and admire. You just deserve that as another human being. So for me to siphon away from that, I'm not honoring our relationship.
Yes.
So I'm a big believer in that. So when I'm talking about my relationship with my work, when I say my positive energy, it's I'm going to keep a positive attitude towards what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that my goal is attainable, knowing where I'm going to, and knowing what I want to do. And sometimes what I want to do changes.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes what I want to do is I want to work with a bunch of people that I think is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to have a great time, and we're going to really enjoy ourselves. And other times what I want to do is work on a show for 9 months and make a bunch of money so that I can do other things.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Well, learning, I guess, to understand your emotions is definitely going to play a big role, because what you kind of described, it's kind of like a communication system to the soul, the body, physical body, everything. So learning, you saying you don't ignore it, which I think is great. Sometimes I find we don't do enough of sitting in those emotions and feeling them. We try to camouflage it by going and either watching TV, or we keep our mind busy with something, so we don't have to focus on the emotion, but the emotion is trying to tell us something. Right. So I see where you're going with that. So that's a good point to understand those emotions.
Although I also understand that emotions aren't real.
Ooh, that's like.
Well, the reason
what do you
why
mean? Expound.
The reason why I say that so flippantly
is
because my emotions can be affected by things that are not tangible. So, for example, if I'm hungry, I could be a real grumpy SOB simply because I'm hungry, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm tired, I didn't get enough sleep, I can be grumpy and moody and easily set off and feeling agitated. Well, those emotions are telling me, they're informing me that I'm tired. They're informing me that I'm hungry. They're not necessarily informing me that the world is a bad place and I need to hate everybody, although that may be how it feels in that moment. So for me anyways, there has to be a certain amount of emotional intelligence that goes along with it. If I'm there you go. I have not read that book, which is too bad. It looks like it'd probably be a good book for me. So a certain amount of emotional intelligence where I don't just go, oh, the world's a bad place because I feel bad. I'm like, okay, I feel bad right now because something bad is happening in my life. And it might be because I'm not getting enough attention from my father, or it might be because I'm hungry or tired or stubbed my toe or in pain or have eaten a food that's not agreeing with my belly. Same thing with emotions, being happy. I shouldn't say just emotions, happy. If you smoke a big blunt, you're likely going to be a lot happier.
Or paranoid, I don't know.
Right? Or you have happy drunks and you have angry drunks. Like, your emotions are definitely affected by outside sources that aren't just aren't just tangible things. There's a lot of intangibles that come to emotions, which is what makes them confusing for teenagers.
Yeah.
You start having all these new emotions you didn't have before, and you're like, I can't handle life.
Well, I think sometimes emotional intelligence gets the back burner to IQ, your intellectual intelligence, or something like that. But that book, that book there, is kind of makes a strong case that emotional intelligence is actually more valuable in your day-to-day life and your world than your IQ. So
I think there's something to that, because I know people that are very good at reading other people and at connecting. And they go through life very. I look at them and go, "How do you do that?" Like I'm so triggered right now. I'm on tilt because of what that person said or did, and I can't communicate effectively in this moment. I can't make my words come out because my brain is shutting down. And you're speaking eloquently and diffusing the situation and making everybody friends, and we're getting the job done, which is what the goal is. Yeah. But I'm too busy being emotional to do that. So yeah, having a good emotional IQ, I agree. Something to work on.
Yeah. Well, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about sacrifice, because it seems to be inevitable no matter what path you choose in life. There's going to be a sacrifice, it's like you're choosing, no matter what. Not doing something is choosing. So would you say there's any truth to the saying, the greater the conscious, I'll throw the conscious in there, the greater the conscious sacrifice, the greater the reward? Throwing these big ones out there. I don't know. Maybe you can't. You don't have to be definitive on it. Maybe to me, it seems to be that people who, but it could also be bad, right? You could make a sacrifice. You could make a choice to do something that could not pay off for you. It could blow up in your face, right? So I don't know. But maybe some type of calculated risk. Calculated sacrifice.
I don't know. This is an interesting debate because, you hear people say all the time, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Yeah. But then when it actually comes into doing it, putting it into action, if you've saved up $100,000 and that's everything that you have, and somebody says to you, if you invest this $100,000 into this investment, in 1 year I can get you $200,000. And you're like, oh, that's great, but that sounds risky. Oh yeah, it's crazy risky. Yeah. But you're going to have $200,000. Yeah. And you go, okay, I'm going to do it. And you put the $100,000 in, and your buddy runs away with it, and you never see your money. And you're like, oh, it was a big risk, and there's like zero reward. I lost everything.
Yeah.
But did you lose everything? Because now you learn never to give that buddy $100,000.
I guess, yeah.
But you've lost $100,000.
Yeah.
And I found in my life, I've taken big risks and I've lost. And I've taken big risks and I've won. And I've taken small risks and I've lost. And I've taken small risks and I've won. That's life. If you try to take as many calculated risks as possible, that's good. But if you're stuck calculating all the time and you don't take any action, you can't win at all. So if I've taken a risk and I've lost, then I can accumulate, take another risk and win. I can eventually get where I gotta go. Hopefully I'm learning as I go along with those risks. So when we're talking, that goes back to the failure idea, right? There is no failure, there's just experiences. So I'm gonna have this experience, and that's what I started looking at when I started doing money investments. Well, I'm gonna do this experience now. I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna do this experience. And I looked at it as, well, I made this much money once, I already know how to do that. If I do this experience and my money goes away, then I'll just do this other thing I did before and get it back. And hopefully, it took me 5 years to get it, but now I know how to do it. Maybe I'll get it back in 2 years.
Yeah. And
so the risk actually becomes smaller.
Yeah, that's no, right? I totally hear what you're saying. I've kind of when it comes to risk, I'm getting better at it. It's like what I said before, doing anything rather than just the same thing. Sometimes you just got to move. I kind of like the idea of like what am I willing to lose? I look at it kind of like that. If I lost it all, would I be so destroyed that I couldn't recover from it? Or I don't know if that's a good way to look at it. I'm kind of a don't put all your eggs in one basket type of a deal. I might be a little bit more calculated. It might just be my temperament or my character type. I don't know. I try to look at it like something, say an investment. If I put something in, if I lost it all, would I be okay with it? Right. It's kind of, how I look at it. Maybe I don't know.
Right. Well, for me, I do the same thing. But because we grew up really poor, I have an idea in my head that I can live on next to nothing. So if I lost everything, I could live that way. My girlfriend, Stephanie, doesn't have the same viewpoint. She's like, yeah, no, if you lost everything, that's no good. Because then you, like, I'm like, I can live off of tuna fish and craft dinner. Like, I can make this work. And she's like, yeah, no, I can't. I can't do that. I need to have a certain amount. So she would not take the same risks that I would.
Yeah.
Now, on that note, there are some risks that I just won't take because I don't believe they're good risks. Right? I take my emotional intelligence and I take my experienced intelligence and I put them together and I go, yeah, for me, this isn't a good risk. Even though somebody else may be standing there going, this is a risk you got to take, you're going to make so much money.
Yeah.
And other times I've taken risks where I've been like, yeah, somebody else is like, oh, that's not a good idea. I wouldn't do it. For example, some of my real estate deals. My parents, I came to them, they wouldn't do the same risk that I would do. They weren't comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And it's worked out well for me. Mm. And because for me, my intelligence and my experience intelligence said this is something that should work.
Yeah.
And it has. It worked.
All right. Well, let's shift gears. You've been in the movie industry for a long time now. Can you ever think back to a time where you felt like giving up? And if so, what kept you going?
Yeah, I totally can think back to a time where I felt like giving up. There was a time in my stunt career where I've been focusing on stunts a lot. My acting agent had suddenly retired and didn't tell anybody.
Oh, nice.
Like, I didn't have an agent at that moment, and my stunt career had stalled out through some crazy politics that was going on in our industry. And I was like really surprised at who were my friends and who weren't my friends and who stuck by me, who didn't stick by, and really surprised at how the industry can shift so dramatically for reasons that are out of your control, right? My industry, there isn't a lot of control that you have yourself, but you're always begging for the next job, and you're a contract worker, basically. You're always looking for, when you're auditioning, you're trying to get the next role, and when you're a stunt person, you're trying to get the next stunt. So yeah, so I was in a place, I was pretty depressed, pretty sad about everything, not making a lot of money, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do next. And what got me through it was coming up with the decision of what I was going to do next, where I was going to go. I was questioning why I got into the business. And at that point, I had gotten tunnel vision for money and believing that money was the success. And I changed my gears and decided that I wanted to be more fulfilled. We were talking about fulfillment earlier.
Yeah.
The type of roles I was going to do. So I said, screw it about money, and just started contacting people that were making no money miracles. Anybody that, and I should explain what a no money miracle is. To me, anybody that's making a low budget short film or independent feature where they have no money and they can't afford to pay their actors a ton of money, I call those no money miracles. They're getting made out of people helping, basically. Yeah. So I started contacting them and say, listen, I'm an experienced actor, love to work with you. Do you have any projects you got doing? And people come out of the woodwork. Yeah. We want to work with somebody who's experienced, as many credits in the resume as you do. Can you please come and work? And that was very fulfilling. And then that started to feed my emotional intelligence again and put me into a place where I knew why I was doing this again, what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to do it. And that put me back on track.
So not letting yourself stall, just at whatever cost, keeping those wheels moving. Maybe.
Not true. It wasn't at whatever cost.
No?
Because I did take time.
Yeah.
There was time I did take time. Well, I mean, I could take time. The phone wasn't ringing. There weren't jobs being thrown my way.
Yeah.
So, and I was burnt out. I had just come off of, I've been coordinating a great big television series that was nuts and working all the time, 7 days a week, and it wasn't fulfilling me, and there was a big demand, and I was A, tired, and B, questioning everything, and I had lost the joy in it, right? Because it was, I got caught up in the idea of being perfect instead of in the idea of the experience.
Yeah.
And I've reaffirmed that the experience is more important than the perfection.
Yeah.
Okay? For me, anyways.
Yeah.
If I'm constantly worried that everything I do has to be perfect, then it's almost paralyzing, and you almost never complete anything because you're like, oh, it needs just one more thing to be perfect. Oh, it's not really perfect. Oh, anybody could have done this. Oh, no, it's not as great as I want it to be. Which, in reality, it's great. It's wonderful. You're the one making it that way, or I'm the one not making it. And then that takes the joy out of everything I did. If I spend 12 days coming up with a script, a short script that I'm writing and doing, and then I'm all upset because I think it's not perfect. Well, yeah, it's not perfect. I'm making it not perfect.
Yeah.
But if I go with the experience of, I'm going to have an experience of writing the script in 12 days, and then whatever I have, I'm going to ask other people to work with me on it and work to make it as best as it can be. It's going to be the experience of that frees things up a lot more for me, right? So when you say go forward at all costs, I didn't. I did pause, and I did think, and I did check with my emotions and check with my intelligence, and I did, talk to friends, and I did spend a lot of time talking to my girlfriend and saying, hey, I'm feeling this right now. I don't understand this. I don't know what to do about this. And spent quite a bit of time just thinking, and then coming up with a decision. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. And then once I had that decision, back again to my positive energy, moving forward. Here we go.
So the downtime was good then. That's a good to have that moment, that pause to reset is definitely, there's some beneficial there. And what you were saying kind of bleeds off into what I was going to ask you next. You are in the limelight a lot. Sometimes it's like full on camera. Sometimes you're the stunt guy. It might not be so clear, but you're there and you're in front of everyone. Do you ever feel self-conscious about what others might be thinking about you? And whether you do or you don't, how do you deal with that? How do you just handle that internally?
I don't.
No?
That doesn't.
No compute.
That really doesn't come into play for me. When I'm on set acting, I have it in my head that everybody there is working with me and cheering for me. I don't have the idea that people are judging me or looking at me. I believe, because that's a decision I've made. So when you go to a film set, just so people that are watching understand how it works, I will show up and say, hey, I'll get a call the night before or an email the night before that gives me a call sheet. Call sheet's a piece of paper that it's emailed now. It used to be printed out, but it's emailed. That gives you your call time, what scenes you're going to shoot that day, and who's all in those scenes. So I'll get told my call time is 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to be doing 3 scenes that day. This is if I'm working as an actor. It's the same as you're working as a stunt, you get the same call sheet. I show up at 7 o'clock. I go to the assistant director's trailer. They say, oh, great to see you, Christopher. Haven't seen you in a long time. Give me a hug and a kiss, because everybody knows everybody these days. And, oh, your trailer's over here. There'll be a trailer for me to be in, and I go in my wardrobe will be in. So the wardrobe people have chosen clothes for me to help my character be the best character. So to me, they're on my team, right? They've done this.
Yeah.
I put the clothes on. Then I go to the hair and makeup trailer. Now there's a team that's going to make me look as good as possible. I know you're looking at this going, what do? They do a lot, right? They make your hair, they'll cut my hair, they'll style my hair, sometimes even color my hair, right, to what they think it should be for the role. If I have a beard, they'll trim it, or if they don't want me to have a beard, they'll cut it, they make me look like the role. They're on my team. Yeah. They're helping me do what has to be done. Yeah. Then I'll go to my trailer usually, hang out for a bit, and they'll call me to set. There's a director on set, there's a first assistant, a director on set, and then there's the other actors will be there. Sometimes the other actors are in the hair and makeup trailer with you, so you've told jokes, you've got to know each other. And then you get to set, and there's a camera team. The camera guys want to make you look good because they're trying to do their job. The director wants it to look good. He's trying to do his job. Everybody's on a team, to me, in my mind. Yeah. So I'm never concerned about people looking at me going, oh, what the hell is he doing? Because it's not my fault.
Yeah.
My job as an actor is to show up knowing my lines and have ideas about my character. The director is supposed to tell me not to do things if he doesn't like what I'm doing, or tell me to do things if I'm not doing them that he wants me to do. The camera operator is supposed to capture me in the best way possible. The DOP is supposed to light me in the best way possible. The hair and makeup people are supposed to make me look like the character the best way possible. So it's all teamwork.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that way when I'm on set.
Well, you said something that, like, there's some good things to note there about surrounding yourself. You know, a lot of people say, well, that just might be like some type of an ideal situation moving, you know, when you're in the, you know, film industry. It's not like that at every place. But I think there's definitely a point to be made about, you know, if you're asking yourself the question about, like, you know, if you're feeling self-conscious in front of people, you know, and worried about what they think or how they, you know, view you, maybe you're with the wrong people. Maybe you should be, you know, doing something to change things up for yourself so you don't feel self-conscious. Right. Maybe being around people that are lifting you up and that you believe in, and you're all, you know, have the right intention about what's going on. Maybe there's something to be said about, you know, looking at that maybe in your life, I guess, in your journey. Well,
I agree, because what you're saying there is the people around you are giving you affirmation, almost, that they respect you and on team with you. The other thing is, if you truly believe in yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking.
No.
Right? If I go into my situation, so if I go in a set as a stunt guy, I know my skills and my abilities. I have a very strong belief in myself and what I can and can't do. And I spend a lot of time, like I said, every day doing one thing to move my career forward. Yeah. So when I go into any situation now, I'm armed with all this information that I have and all this experience I have. There isn't a cockiness, there's just an assuredness that I know what's happening. And I'm confident enough now in myself that if I don't know what's happening, I ask the question. I just say, hey, what's happening here? I don't quite get this. And because I'm not afraid of looking like I don't know what's going on, because I'm aware that everybody at some point in their life doesn't know what's going on. That's just life. You walk into a room and people are laughing at a joke and go, oh, what happened? Because you don't know what's going on, but you don't feel like you're an idiot for not knowing. Yeah. Or I don't. Somebody might. So that's the thing I look at, is if you are doing the work to better yourself in whatever goal you're trying to go forward.
Yeah.
I believe that work should give you the self-assurance that you can walk into most situations and not be worried about what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
You're there to, and if you have a question, you can just ask, because it's okay to people have questions. It's okay to not know things. It's okay to have those situations happen, as long as you know most of the time what you should be doing, right?
Yeah.
So that's been my experience.
So what are some of the signs that you think someone should be looking for that might help, you know, that might suggest to them that they are on the right or the wrong path? Like, I'm sure you've built up in yourself by now some intuitive thing that lets you know, like, you know, I'm doing this and it feels right and I know that I'm doing the right thing. And then when something like, you know, comes along your path, say someone asks you to do a film or something and it just doesn't feel right or something like that, and you're like, I think I'm going to let that one go. Like, what is that? What is that thing in you that is, how do you discern that? I like to ask these nice questions.
How do I discern the difference between what is right for me and what is wrong for me?
Yeah, what is that thing that, like, you must wake up in the morning before you go and be like, you know, I feel good about this. I know I'm doing the right thing. And this is the thing, I know I'm doing what I should be doing right now. And I'm sure there's that feeling. Maybe it comes back to emotional intelligence. I don't know. But I'm sure there's some type of an intuitive sense that I'm not in the right place right now. I need to get away from this thing. Like, have you ever felt like you've taken on a job and you're like, I shouldn't have taken on that job? And then the next time, something came along, it was like, I know to avoid that. No, I'm not touching that.
Yes, but I say that with trepidation because I don't like to put it on other people. So I try to learn from the situation. So sometimes I go charging into a situation like, this is the right situation for me. This is, I'm so positive, this is so great. And you get into it and say, oh, snap. This isn't what I thought it was. This is not the right thing. I'm so uncomfortable right now because I'm in an environment that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's not the right environment. It just means I wasn't prepared for that environment. So my emotions will be telling me, run away, this is scary, you're out of your comfort zone. Yeah. But maybe I need to learn in that moment how to adapt to that situation and create something wonderful out of it. I know from my own experiences as a younger person, sometimes when you're uncomfortable, I would just run away. I'd physically run away. Yeah. And lose an opportunity, right? Whether it was to ask a pretty girl on a date, or whether it was, the ability to make a new friend, or whatever it was, you lose it because you ran away. It's not there anymore, and you can't be served if you're not at the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this fine. I shouldn't even say it's a fine line. It's not a fine line, but there's a difference between being somewhere that you're uncomfortable, but realizing that it's a growth situation and you can make something work from that, and being somewhere where you're being berated or hurt. Yeah. And that's not the right place for you, right? Yeah. There isn't room for growth. They're different things. And I've been in both and haven't always reacted the proper way either time, because life is about learning and its experiences. Yes. Or maybe not say the proper way, maybe not the best way. There might have been a better way to do it, or a different way to do it that would have had a different outcome. So yeah, to your original question, I do think that there are moments where you will be in situations where you're like, okay, I shouldn't be here anymore. But yeah. I've been there and been like, but I have an obligation, or I have a contract, or I've made a promise. I believe that your word is very important. So I will stick this out and I will complete this. Yeah. And reevaluate and know, okay, I might not want to work with this person again because I can't seem to be able to get a good relationship happening with them. Because not everybody is for everybody, right? Some people click really well and they finish each other's sandwiches, and other people don't click at all, right? You look at them constantly and you're like, how do you not understand what I'm saying? I told you, you put the thing in the thing, and the thing happens. How do you not get this? And they're like, what thing? And what thing? What are you talking about? And the other person across the table is like, yeah, I get it. You put the thing in the thing, and you got the thing. And you're like, yes! So,
all right, okay. So, what gets you? What is the thing that keeps you pushing on day after day to keep going after your dreams? What is the thing that lights the fire under your ass?
Girls.
Hot chicks.
Girls.
Profound. That's gonna be that's the highlight of the video right there. Right. Girls.
Why does anybody do anything? Girls.
Oh, jeez.
What keeps the fire in me is the desire. So with me, I've decided that what I am is a storyteller, and I like to tell stories. So whether I'm telling stories as a director, or a stunt coordinator, or an actor, or as a writer, or a director, like I'm telling stories. So making that difference in the world with a story, whether it's the difference is I'm telling you a story that changes your point of view, or opens your point of view, makes you think about something you've thought about before, or whether it's a story that simply creates an emotional response in you. So, you were not happy when you came into see the movie and you're happy when you're leaving. Or whether it's telling you a movie that changes your emotional response. You're happy when you came in and now you're sad and melancholy when you're leaving. Because I believe all emotions are something you should experience. Or whether it's just simply I'm entertaining or telling a story that changes and puts things on its head, like M. Night Shyamalan or something, right? There's a twist in it. You're like, oh, I didn't see that, and it makes you think. I like that, creating a difference, and that's what drives me is doing that. And I like, when it comes to stunts, I like the excitement of that. That's really great, being able to do a stunt that's fascinating and exciting. All of my life, for anybody really, there's certain rules in life you're told you can't do or you will die, right?
Yeah.
Don't stand in front of a moving car, it'll hit you and you will die. Don't set yourself on fire, you'll burn up and you will die. Don't jump off of a building, you'll hit the ground and you will die. And I get to do all those things. Don't wipe out your motorcycle, you will crash and die. I get to do those things on a semi-regular basis. And there's a lot to be said about challenging yourself physically and coming out the other side, doing things that should kill you and not dying, that can be
exhilarating.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a keen sense of life purpose, and I think maybe there's definitely something there between something within, following your dreams and having a life purpose. Maybe something that is blocking people, maybe from pursuing their dreams, would be the fact is that they're not aware, they haven't become conscious or aware of what they really want to do with their life.
I don't know if you need to decide that. Really. Because I think that actually weighs people down. They go, what do I really want to do? Oh, I can't decide what I really want to do. Oh, I don't know what I really want to do. So they do nothing. But if you go back to taking steps, you can take the step of, well, what do I really want to do today? Today I want to get up and be a productive member of society, and I would like to spread as much joy as I can. So I'm a big believer that everybody in life deserves respect just for being a human being that's alive. And I try to fulfill it. So if I get up today, I may be like, oh, I have to run these errands. But when I run these errands, I want to do it in a way that makes most people that meet me on the street feel better.
Yeah.
Right? So when I'm cashing out at a register, I'll make small talk with the person at the register. And be like, oh, how's your day going? And I'll crack a joke with them or do something and make them smile, hopefully our experience has them smiling, or tell them their shirt looks nice, or I like their eyes, or something, right? I meet somebody in the elevator, I'll talk about the weather, how it's great, about what's coming up, talk to them about their dog or their nail polish, how I like the color, or something, so that when they leave the elevator, they're feeling a little bit better than when they stepped off, I think, right? So that in alone gives me a purpose every day that I can fulfill.
Yeah.
I don't have to have some grand scheme or plan. I have that very easily attainable thing. All right.
Well, maybe by like, if you can't come up with something, don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Start off with small little purposes, and maybe by doing like a number of things, those smaller tasks, you might soon gain a greater understanding of a greater life purpose, maybe as it comes along. Maybe not, but cultivating, building something that grows into something.
I just like to interject that when I'm talking about experiences, earlier I was talking about experiences instead of failures.
Yeah.
Same with everyday life. If somebody's trying to figure out what their greater purpose is, they can just have small experiences and have that in their mind. If I'm going to try this experience that might be outside of my box, what I regularly do. And from that, like you were saying, you will find things that you wish to pursue. Oh, that was really interesting. I've never done origami before. I think that's really fascinating. What can I do with that? Oh, look, I'm online and finding out that there's origami contests and there's experts that go around the world and do this thing. And oh, there's a monk I can go and train origami with. He's the world's great. Like, that might really be something you want to do, and you're a paper folder for the rest of your life. Because you did an experience and you went on a date with a girl who showed you origami, or a guy that showed you origami, or whoever, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just outside of your norm. And that's something I think is very small and attainable. Instead of, I go back to what I was saying earlier, is I think a lot of us go, oh, I have this thing I have to do, and it's a great big thing. I need to renovate my entire house. Oh my God. Oh, it's so big. Instead of going, okay, here's the small thing that I can do first, right?
Yeah.
What are all the jobs that have to be done? The same thing with trying to figure out what your life's passion is, what it is you want to. You don't have to sit down and figure it out and then you go for it. Just start going out and doing experiences. And for me, what works for me might not be work for everybody else. I can only speak about myself, is giving myself that's attainable. For me, it was spreading joy. I can go out and be positive. And that helps me too with my career choice, because now I'm learning to be comfortable talking to strangers, right? And then that, once I'm comfortable with that and I'm giving joy to people, that then reaffirms my belief that I'm somebody that can go into a situation and people will like me, or be at least not wanting to beat me with a stick. You know what I mean? Like, you can.
I hear what you're saying.
And that gives you a certain amount of confidence, which then allows you to do more things. For example, I teach Muay Thai, right?
Yeah.
Or before COVID, I was instructing Muay Thai. I haven't done it since COVID. At first, going in front of the class, even though I know about Muay Thai, there's a certain amount of trepidation and nervousness about talking in front of a room full of 30 people about Muay Thai.
Yeah.
But you do the class once, you do the class twice, you do the class 30 times, and then it becomes easy peasy. You don't think about it anymore. You're just going to go teach your class, and you're in front of a room full of people. There's no nervousness anymore, because I have enough experience at it now. I've done it enough times that this is just normal. And that's the same with everything I found in my life. The more you experience things, the easier it is to do more experiences, because it's normal. Right? And so then it leads me to be confident in front of all those people, which then leads me to better auditions, which leads me to get better roles. All because I'm teaching Muay Thai, which has absolutely nothing to do with acting. You would think the two have nothing to do with each other, but it does. You start seeing the connections, and that leads you on your journey to your greater goal.
Yeah. No, good point. All right. Fear. A lot of people, I feel like fear seems to be a big reason, or maybe people use it as an excuse, but I think there's some legitimate fear, and people, they're afraid of so many things that they're unwilling to take the chance or the risk or especially a lot of people, you get caught up, you get tied down by a certain type of lifestyle. You're caught in a mortgage, or you're married, you got kids, and then you realize that wasn't necessarily what you wanted to do. And how am I going to live my dreams now when I feel like I'm shackled? What would you say to people out there about their dreams? Maybe this goes back to that Jordan Peterson thing, and maybe there can be some type of equilibrium found here in the you owe it to yourself. You're hurting your family, or you're hurting people by not pursuing your dreams. What do we do about this fear? Like, how do you handle, has there ever been like a fear in you about this? I'm sure you've already mentioned it before in the past about the getting started, the chances that were taken, the stuff. How do you quell the fear?
Well, the reason why I'm stalling is or pausing is there's different types of fear.
Good point.
So it depends on which fear you're talking about. when I go to do a stunt, quite often I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm about to be hit by a car. I'm scared. And that fear I get over by rehearsing and knowing we've planned this out. We know exactly what's going to happen here. And we've done it as safely as possible, and I trust the other person driving the car. And I trust the coordinator that did this, and we figured this out. And then I do the stunt. And some of that is belief in myself, right? So the belief in myself comes with that. The fear of like talking in front of a group of people, that gets quelled. I do it anyways, and then experience then takes that edge out, takes that fear out. Same thing with stunts too. The more experience you have, the less fear I think you have, or the less intense the fear is. But anytime, stunts are different all the time. Like you're being set on fire or jumping off a building or hit by a car. There's always, I think if anybody ever told you they weren't afraid, you should question their sanity, because you should be afraid. You're doing something that should kill you if you don't do it right, or could kill you. Yeah. I've done plenty of stunts that could kill me if you did it wrong.
Yeah. It's like the fear of consequences, right? There's a lot of I think that's where a lot of the trepidation comes to make a move in life, to take a chance, is that it's the fear of the future. It's actually the fear of something that hasn't even happened yet. You build up in your mind what it will be like if it doesn't work, or if it fails, or if something bad happens. But really, it's just in your imagination. It hasn't even happened yet. And you won't even know until you try.
And that's the fear of the unknown, yeah. And that's a whole different fear. And that one's not always rational. It's why when you turn out the lights, you're scared in the dark.
Yeah.
Even as an adult, we still feel it. It's not a rational fear. There's never been anything in the darkness that has ever hurt you. But you are concerned and afraid. You don't need to be. So, and that fear you just get over by saying, I'm an adult, I'm not going to be afraid, and you walk down the stairs into the basement with the lights out. So when it comes to moving your career forward and taking steps, there's people in life that let fear and frustration stop them. I call them people that figure out reasons why not to. I have a bunch of them personally in my life that if you say, hey, let's do this thing, they come up with a long list of reasons why it won't work.
Yeah.
And then they choose not to do it. They choose not to do it because it won't work. I choose that it's something I want to do. So if you have this long list of reasons why it won't work, how do I mitigate each reason? Cross it off. Like, what can I do to eliminate the risks as much as possible, and then move forward?
Yeah.
That's what I say to people that are letting fear stop them. A lot of times the thing that you're afraid of will never happen. And if it does happen, usually it's not as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I talk to people all the time, just with simple examples of, asking somebody that they like out on a date. We have such a, as teenagers, we have such a hard time with it. Even as adults, a lot of people have a hard time with it, talking to somebody that they're interested in, because they're afraid that the person might reject them, might say no. And, oh, that'd be horrible. But so what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't go and ask them out, you're not going out with them. And if you ask them out and they say no, well, at least you know you're not going out with them. And now you can go ask somebody else. Right? Like instead of, so taking the action actually creates the solution. And if you do ask them out and they say yes, then that's great. Now you're going out. And now you're going to be afraid of, well, what if I screw up on the date? Well, go on the date. Like, you know what I mean? So you can always find reasons not to. You can always be afraid of things. You can always, always, always find why something should fail, and why something shouldn't work, and why I shouldn't do something. And when I say you can always find reasons, they're not always legitimate reasons. We make them up.
Yeah.
So stop it. Find reasons why it should work. Find reasons why, and that has been a big mantra of mine for a long time. I would say, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And somebody say, "Oh, go talk to that girl." Okay, what's the worst that could happen? She tells me no. No, I don't like you. No, I would never go out with you. I'm like, okay, but that's good to know. You're not the kind of person I want to date anyways, because I want to date somebody that likes me. Right? That's I was talking to a good friend of mine today who said that was one of the first things he realized when he was young. Somebody asked him, what do you look for in a mate? He's like, well, I look for somebody that likes me. That's very important, right?
Yeah.
You want somebody who likes you. It's not nice to date somebody who doesn't like you. Okay.
Well, you touched on something. We're gonna peel the onion a little bit deeper. When I was a kid, I used to watch award shows for, it didn't matter if it was movies or music or whatever. And after, people would always come up on stage to get the rewards. And one thing that you would commonly hear from these people accepting their rewards was believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And as a kid, I remember thinking of that as like cheesy, like believe in yourself. Come on, you're Green Day or you're Tom Cruise. It's easy to believe in yourself. I used to think it was stupid. But the older I get, with every passing year, there is definitely something deep and profound, I think, to this idea of believing in yourself. Now, you've mentioned it a bunch of times. Where does this belief in yourself come from?
Confidence.
Confidence.
I don't call it believing in yourself. I call it confidence and self-assuredness. And for me, I'm sure it comes from different places for different people. It's preparedness. Right? I said I do one thing a day, make sure I do at least one thing a day to further my career. So I am constantly in a position where I believe, where I have the belief that I am doing the things to earn my way to where I'm going.
You're qualified to be there.
I'm qualified to be there, and I'm continually qualifying myself to be further.
Yes.
So that assuredness is the same as believing in yourself. And for me, it comes from doing the work. I don't just go, oh, I believe in myself, so I'm going to be the next, Prince couldn't just be Prince, or Michael Jackson just couldn't be Michael Jackson by saying, I believe in myself. Prince had to learn how to play the guitar. He had to put the work in. And then that gave him the position, I'm guessing, but I believe that gave him the position to be, I deserve to be here. I have earned my position here. Yeah. Right? I've earned my seat at this table, or I am earning my seat at this table. That I believe is the when people say believe in yourself, that's what they mean.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, they have a lot of. This will be my last loaded question for you. A lot of people have beliefs in things, and I'm talking about for their darkest days, for the foundation of who they are. Some people, they rest on spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, or maybe it's just belief in the natural state of the universe and how things go. There's something that they rest on, something that they lean on. What is that? What? Can you hear me now?
Is that what you're suggesting?
Sorry. What I was gonna say is, what is that for you? What is that foundational thing that you rely on? For you?
My answer will get me into a lot of trouble.
It's okay, man. Hey, trust me. You know my background.
I have an unpopular belief. I believe that we are all masters of our own belief.
Okay.
And that's what gives me my confidence. I don't believe that there's anything else controlling me except for me. So If things don't go right, that's on me. And if things go right, that's also on me. I'm not trying to say that I'm taking credit for everything that goes right in my life, because there are people that do help me. And I do receive assistance. And I do believe that nothing is done just on your own. And just the same as a bad thing that happens in your life, it's not just on your own. You have the ability to correct your course, keep your positive energy moving forward, right? You have that. And so because that's my belief system, that keeps me accountable. I'm always feel that I am accountable to what's happening in my life. I don't believe that if I pray hard enough, good things will happen for me. I believe if I work hard enough, good things will happen for me. I don't believe that, if I do bad things to people, bad things will happen to me. I believe if I'm not a good person, people aren't going to treat me well. Yeah. That's just life, right? Yeah. So I try to be as good a person as possible to as many people as I meet. And I don't always succeed at that. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of people that can tell you a Christopher Cordell did me wrong story. And I can tell you now, it wasn't intentional, but things happen, right? Yeah. And sometimes you think you're doing something lovely for one person, and that ends up being something negative for somebody else. Yeah. But so for me, my belief system is I'm accountable. I'm accountable for what happens in my life, and that keeps me working. It keeps me from coasting.
I don't think there's anything wild or crazy in what you're saying. And I hear what you're saying. I don't think there's anything wild or crazy. You were kind of like the master of your own domain, and maybe, I don't know if this is too far to say, your ultimate authority.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down, it rests on my shoulders, right? Yeah. What's going on in my life rests on my shoulders. So sometimes that can be overwhelming. I can be like, oh my goodness, nothing's going right. I've had times in my life where, and I've said this to my girlfriend, I said, I didn't expect this. Right now I'm being hit. This is going wrong, this is going wrong, this is going wrong, so many things are going wrong at the same time. And because I believe I'm the one driving my ship, this all falls on me. Yeah. How do I correct this? How do I do, and can I correct it? And can I correct it all? Yeah. And how much time will it take? And that can be, if you're depressed at the same time, that can send you down a spiral. It's even more depressing, that thought process. Yeah. So I can see the allure to wanting to have a higher being that you can.
Well, we live in the day and age right now of victim mentality, and I'll tell you, the last 4 personal development books that I read all said pretty much and like radically, unequivocally that you are responsible for everything that happens to you. I know that is radical and it's like going the wrong way down the traffic lane compared to what most people believe, but what you're saying to me is nothing I have not heard many times before. Now, on kind of like a lighter note, if you were going to give advice to a young person today, not just for the movie or the film industry or whatever, what would you say to someone, what would you say to 20-year-old Christopher?
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. Well, what advice would you give about following your dreams?
I would say experience.
Yeah.
Experience. And that's what I did myself, is I started doing experiences. And I would recommend that. I would also tell young me to do the work and trust yourself. I wouldn't use the words believe in yourself, because That, just like you, that doesn't, to me, I'm like, what does that mean? I'd be more specific. I'd be like, I'd tell them, do the experiences, realize that there's no such thing as mistakes, realize that emotions are there to help you, all the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
They're there to inform you. You are the master of your own destiny. Go and earn your seat at the table.
Yeah.
And that would be my advice. Earn your seat at the table. And that makes you believe in yourself. When you start doing the work and doing the experiences and having the confidence then of, oh, I'm doing these things. I'm earning my seat at the table. And that would be what I would change. I didn't know that starting myself to earn my seat at the table. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I would also give some other advice that we didn't really touch on, is that not everything is about just work. That interacting with people is different than just doing a good job. There's people that are good at, we're talking a little bit about it, about emotional intelligence and understanding what other people's needs are and desires are and how you can help them and how you can make their life easier will make your life easier.
Yeah.
That's something that's very important, I think, in life that not everybody is attuned to. I know I'm not fully attuned to it, and I'm trying to learn that about it, even at this stage in my life. I was a big believer for a long time. If I just do the work and I earn my spot at the table, then that gives you everything. And it's not entirely true, right? People want to work with people and be with people that make them feel good about themselves as well.
Yeah.
So incorporating those two things, which is what I've been talking about, I try to do in my life now as much as possible. I think can make for a better life for you at the end of the day. All right.
Okay, I got 10 speed fun questions here. We're gonna. So these are just. This is just so everyone can get to know you just a little bit better. Okay, so what is your favorite snack to eat while watching a movie?
Popcorn.
What was it?
Popcorn.
Popcorn, traditional classic. All right.
No topping.
No topping?
No topping.
No topping. Okay. What movie made you laugh out loud in the theater?
In the theater, Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. What?
That made me laugh out loud. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. That made me laugh out loud. Zoolander. Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder is one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, yes, that actually did make you laugh out loud.
Yeah.
All right, what movie made you cry in the theater?
Armageddon.
Armageddon. Oh, okay.
And she's like at the screen. Bruce Willis is there. And Will Smith is singing, I don't want to close my eyes. I'm like bawling. Oh my God.
When the Admiral shakes his hand and says, can I shake the daughter's hand of the bravest man I ever met? I don't know. I like that. What movie has the best soundtrack?
Oh, I guess it depends on what you're...
For you.
The original Batman by Prince.
I had a feeling you were going to pick that one. I had a feeling.
Prince did that entire soundtrack, and that's a very impressive soundtrack. I think that's probably the best.
What movie have you watched the greatest number of times?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Who is your favorite superhero? Jesse predicted which one you would say, so.
Yeah, she's gonna think I'm gonna say Batman.
Yep.
But my superhero choices have been changing lately.
Ooh. You're really pondering this one.
Yeah, I'll stick with Batman.
All right.
I'll go with Batman. Well, Wolverine's a good one.
Wolverine.
Wolverine is up there, and Hugh Jackman's done a great job with him recently in movies, right? If you're not going to go with comic books, you're going to go with movies.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman did a great job of creating a new Wolverine that's different than what's in the comic books.
Yeah.
I'm going on a tangent here, and but
These
the
are
Batman
questions.
movies haven't been as great. So,
all right. What is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Amityville Horror.
Amityville Horror. Isn't that really old, like 80s?
Yep. Based on a true story that scared the bejeebies out of me. Yeah.
All right. Who is your favorite actor or actress?
Oh, there's a bunch, but right now, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Okay. All right.
He does a really great job with things, and I've been really impressed by him.
All right. What was the worst movie you ever saw in a theater?
Although Denzel Washington,
Okay.
he's up there too. Denzel does this thing. Sometimes, yeah. I'm just like Denzel. And you know who else does a great thing every now and again? It's Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Oh, I haven't seen him in a while. I don't even know what he's been in.
New Jack City, he was amazing in that. That's an older movie, but yeah. Anyways, sorry, I got a bunch.
Worst movie you ever saw in theater.
Oh wait,
The
I've seen a
worst.
lot of bad movies, but I try not to remember them.
Did you ever walk out of a movie and be like, I can't even finish this?
No, because I always give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, these guys, a whole pile of people worked really hard on this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just one person, right? It's not like somebody made a painting in their basement and you don't like it. It's 100 people made this movie. And so I go, okay, I'm going to watch it. Okay, I'll keep watching it. And people are like, we're out of here. This movie sucks. No, I'm going to watch it. I watched till the end of the credits in movies to give respect to the people that worked on the film. So, I don't know what the worst movie. I couldn't say. I couldn't say what the worst movie was I ever saw. But I can tell you this. Yeah, okay, never mind.
I'll give you that one. All right, the last one. I think I know this. Jesse, predict this. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Which genre?
If I say the genre that I think, I know exactly. Let's say, dramatic thriller.
Dramatic thriller.
Make it hard on you. I don't know.
My favorite dramatic thriller. Oh man,
It's a tough one, isn't it?
like a thriller though. I don't know. I mean, for like the sci-fi thriller type thing.
You're dead noise here. You're killing me. Come on, the people are watching. They want to know. They want to know.
I'm trying. I was thinking, but Blade Runner.
I do.
And Blade Runner 2049 are two of my favorite movies. And then if you're doing like comedies, Princess Bride is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Willow, one of my favorite movies.
Wow, way back.
As we mentioned earlier, Tropic Thunder. I think that's a fantastic film for how it bends and what it does with things. There was a movie that I saw, the long way back. That's a great movie. There's a long list of movies that I love.
Well, honestly, we had a long, great conversation. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I think you did a great job of answering all those questions. That was really great. Thanks for doing this.
No problem at all. I I didn't bore people to death. But,
no, that was good.
Who's this guy? Who cares what he thinks?
That was great jewels, gems to pass on through the interverse. And yeah, so basically what I'm going to do is I guess I'll wrap things up. I just thanks everyone who came out, watched. If you made it the whole way through this journey, that's give yourself a pat on the back. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. Share it with your friends if you want. All that stuff helps promote the channel. And until next time, folks, stay spiritual.